Princess Zarathel stood before the golden throne of her father, Emperor Veltar of the Velkan Empire. Her crystal skin, once bright blue like summer sky, now looked dull and gray. Fear made her heart beat fast inside her chest. "You have brought shame to our family," the Emperor said. His voice was cold like winter wind. "You spoke with the lower races. You called them equals. This is not the Velkan way." Around the great hall, other nobles watched. Their crystal faces showed no feeling. They had already decided her fate. The trial was just for show. "Father, I only wanted peace," Zarathel said. Her voice was small in the huge room. "The refugees needed help. They were dying." "Let them die," said Lord Kethmar, the Emperor's brother. "They are weak. The galaxy belongs to the strong. It belongs to us." The Emperor raised his hand. A scroll appeared in the air, glowing with golden light. "Princess Zarathel, you are no longer our daughter. You are no longer Velkan. We cast you out to the death world of Kepler 442c. May you learn the price of weakness." Guards came forward. They took away her royal clothes and her crystal crown. They gave her simple gray clothes, a water bottle, and a small bag of food. Nothing else. "Please," she whispered. But no one listened. They put her in a small ship. The ship had no pilot. It flew by itself to the death world. Zarathel sat in the dark alone. She had never been alone before. In the palace, there were always servants, always guards, always someone near. Now there was only the hum of the ship and her own breathing. The death world looked angry from space. Red storms covered half of it. 2 suns burned bright in the sky. The ship's computer spoke in a flat voice. "Arrival at Kepler 442c. Life forms detected hostile. Survival chance very low." The ship dropped her near some rocks and flew away. She was alone. The heat hit her like a wall. Her crystal skin began to crack at once. On her home world, the air was cool and clean. Here, it burned her throat. The gravity was wrong, too. Everything felt heavy. She found a cave between the rocks. It gave her some shade from the terrible suns. She sat down and tried to think. How long could she live? Her people were not made for places like this. They lived in beautiful cities with perfect air and perfect light. This place wanted to kill her. On the first day, she explored near the cave. Strange animals with too many teeth watched her from the shadows. When she got too close, they hissed and showed claws like knives. She stayed near her cave after that. The water in her bottle was getting low. She found a small stream, but the water tasted like metal and made her stomach hurt. Still, she had to drink it. The heat was taking all the water from her body. On the second day, the storms came. Red clouds covered the sky. Lightning struck the ground again and again. The air smelled like burning metal. Zarathel hid in her cave and covered her ears. The thunder was so loud it made the rocks shake. When the storm ended, everything was worse. The stream had dried up. Dead animals lay everywhere, cooked by the lightning. The air was even hotter than before. Her crystal skin was cracking more now. Each crack hurt like fire. Her people healed by absorbing certain kinds of light, but this sun only burned. She was slowly dying, piece by piece. On the third day, she could barely walk. The cracks in her skin went deep now. Her beautiful blue color was almost gone. She looked like broken glass. She knew she had to find water or die. Using the last of her strength, she left the cave. The ground was hard under her feet. Every step hurt. She found a canyon between tall rocks. Maybe there was water at the bottom. She climbed down carefully, but her hands were too weak. Halfway down, she fell. The rocks cut her already broken skin. Blood mixed with crystal dust. She tried to get up, but her legs would not work. The canyon walls were too high. She could not climb out. Even if she could, where would she go? Zarathel lay on the hot stones and looked up at the angry red sky. So this was how it would end. Not in battle like a warrior. Not in peace like an elder. Just alone, forgotten, on a world that hated life. She thought about her father. Did he ever love her? She thought about her mother, dead these many years. Would they meet again somewhere beyond the stars? The heat was making her sleepy. She knew this was the sleep that did not end. Her eyes began to close. At least the pain would stop soon. Far above, something moved across the red sky. It looked like a metal bird, but birds did not fly in space. A ship? Impossible. No one came to this world. No one even knew she was here. But the shape was getting bigger. It was coming down. Zarathel tried to lift her arm, tried to wave, tried to make any sign that she was alive. But her body would not obey. The sleep was too strong now. The last thing she heard before the darkness took her was the sound of engines and footsteps on stone. Someone was calling out, but not in any language she knew. The voice sounded worried, urgent. Then everything went black. She did not see the human who found her. She did not see him check her pulse with gentle hands. She did not see the look of determination on his face as he picked up her broken body. But she was no longer alone. Somewhere in the darkness of her mind, she felt herself being carried toward hope. Marcus Chen was having a bad week. His salvage ship, the Wandering Star, had 3 broken systems and a coffee maker that only made brown water. He was flying through empty space, looking for old wrecks to strip for parts, when his computer made a sound he had never heard before. "Emergency beacon detected," the computer said in its flat voice. "Source, Kepler 442c. Marcus frowned. He knew that planet. Everyone in this part of space knew it. Nothing lived there. Nothing could live there. The whole system was marked as a quarantine zone. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Signal confirmed. Distress call active for 72 hours. 3 days. Someone had been calling for help for 3 days. Marcus looked at his star charts. The planet was only 2 hours away, but going there broke about 15 different space laws. He thought about it for exactly 10 seconds. "Set course for Kepler 442c, he said. "Warning," the computer said. "This action violates quarantine protocols. Recommend reporting to authorities and continuing on planned route." "Yeah, well, someone's in trouble," Marcus said. Can't just ignore that. This was the difference between humans and computers. Computers followed rules. Humans followed their hearts, even when their hearts got them in trouble. The planet looked angry from orbit, just like the reports said. Red storms, hostile wildlife, 2 suns that could cook metal. But the distress signal was coming from the surface, and it was getting weaker. Marcus put on his environmental suit and took his emergency medical kit. He also grabbed some extra water and power cells. If someone was alive down there, they would need help fast. His ship's sensors found the signal source in a canyon. Marcus landed nearby and walked to the edge. Down below, he saw her. She looked almost human, but her skin was like blue crystal. Parts of her were cracked and bleeding. She lay very still among the rocks. "Computer, what species is this?" Marcus asked through his radio. "Unknown. Recommend extreme caution. Alien biology may be dangerous." Marcus looked at the broken figure below. Dangerous? She looked like she was dying. He climbed down into the canyon. The heat was terrible, even through his suit. How long had she been here? How was she even still alive? Up close, he could see she was breathing, but just barely. Her crystal skin was badly cracked. She had lost a lot of blood. He checked his scanner. Her body temperature was too low. Her heart was beating too slow. Whatever her species was, she was shutting down. "Hey," Marcus said softly. "Can you hear me?" No response. But when he touched her arm gently, she made a small sound. Still alive. Marcus was not a doctor, but he had fixed a lot of broken things in his life. machines, ships, sometimes people. The first rule was always the same: stabilize first, figure out the details later. He gave her water through a feeding tube. Not too much at first. Her body was so dry it might not handle a lot at once. Then he used his suit's medical scanner to learn more about her biology. The scanner was confused. Her body was part organic, part crystalline mineral. Her blood had metal in it. Her bones were like living stone, nothing like any species in the database. But Marcus had worked with crystals before. In asteroid mining, you learned about crystal structures, how they grew, how they broke, how they healed. Maybe the same rules applied here. He carried her back to his ship. She was heavier than she looked, but not too heavy for a human who had spent years in different gravity levels. Inside the ship, he made a clean room for her in the cargo bay. "Computer, analyze this biological sample," he said, giving the scanner some of her blood. "Analysis complete. Subject requires high humidity, specific mineral supplements, and controlled light spectrum for cellular repair." Marcus got to work. He rigged a humidity generator from his hydroponic system. He mixed mineral supplements from his asteroid analysis kit. He adjusted the lights to match what the scanner recommended. It took him 6 hours to build what was basically a crystal-growing chamber for a living being. The whole time, her breathing got weaker. When he was done, he moved her into the new environment. For the first hour, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the cracks in her skin began to close. Her color got a little brighter. Her breathing got stronger. Marcus sat next to the chamber and watched. This was the hard part. Waiting, hoping his crazy plan would work. On the second day, she opened her eyes. They were like looking into deep water. Blue, but with tiny lights moving inside. She looked around, confused and scared. When she saw Marcus, she tried to move away but was too weak. "Hey, it's okay," Marcus said. "You're safe. I found you on the planet. You were hurt." She said something in a language his translator did not know. The computer worked for a few minutes, then began to make sense of her words. I?" she finally said, the translator making her voice sound strange and mechanical. "You're on my ship," Marcus said. "The Wandering Star. I'm Marcus. I found you in the canyon. You were dying." She looked at him for a long time. Her eyes were getting brighter as she healed. "You saved me?" she said. The translator was working better now. "Why?" Marcus shrugged. "You needed help. But you do not know me. I could be dangerous." "Are you dangerous?" She thought about it. No. I do not think so." "Then we're good," Marcus said. She stared at him like he was speaking in riddles. "I am Velkin. We rule much of this space. You are..." "Human," Marcus said. "From Earth, originally. But I've been out here a while." "Human." She said the word carefully, like she was tasting it. "I have heard this word. A minor species, new to space travel, considered primitive." Marcus laughed. "Yeah, that's us, still figuring things out." "But you saved me. You used your resources. You took risks. Why would a minor species do this for one of their rulers?" "Former ruler," Marcus said. "I'm guessing, based on how I found you alone on a death world. And I didn't save you because of who you are. I saved you because you're someone." She was quiet for a long time. Outside, the stars moved slowly past the windows. "What is your name?" Marcus asked. "Zarathel," she said. I am Princess Zarathel. Or I was, until 3 days ago." "What happened 3 days ago?" Her crystal skin grew dim. "I was exiled, cast out. My people do not believe in helping others. They believe only in strength, in ruling. I disagreed." Marcus nodded. "That'll do it. They left me to die, and I would have died if not for..." She looked at him again. "You are very strange, Marcus of the humans." "I get that a lot," Marcus said. "You hungry?" I've got some soup that might work for your biology. Computer says you can handle it." As he heated the food, Zarathel watched him. She was trying to understand something that made no sense to her. This human had risked his life, spent his resources, and broken laws to save a complete stranger. And he acted like it was the most normal thing in the universe. Maybe humans were not as primitive as her people thought. 2 weeks later, Zarathel was almost fully healed. Her crystal skin glowed bright blue again, and she could walk around the ship without getting tired. She spent most of her time learning about humans and watching Marcus work. Marcus was not like anyone she had ever met. When something broke, he fixed it with whatever he could find. When they ran low on food, he found new ways to grow plants in small spaces. When the ship's navigation system failed, he navigated by the stars like ancient sailors. "How do you know so much?" Zarathel asked one day as Marcus repaired a plasma conduit with spare parts from a coffee maker. "You learn things when you have to," Marcus said. "Humans don't have big empires or advanced technology. We just figure stuff out as we go." Zarathel had been teaching Marcus about the galaxy. She showed him star charts that were not in any human database. She explained which species controlled which systems and how the galactic government worked. "Your people know nothing of the Hegemony Council?" she asked. "Never heard of them," Marcus said. "We mostly stay in our little corner of space. Trade with a few neighbors, explore empty systems, avoid trouble. The Council rules most of the galaxy. 12 major species. All ancient and powerful. My people, the Velkans, are one of the strongest members. Below them are the client species. Below them are the worker species. And below them are people like me," Marcus finished. "Yes, species too young or too weak to matter. The Council barely knows you exist." Marcus thought about this. "Sounds lonely at the top." "What do you mean?" "All that power, but no one to share it with. Must get boring after a while." Zarathel had never thought of it that way. In Velkan society, power was everything. But watching Marcus, she was starting to understand that there were other ways to be strong. Their first real test came when they found the Zelthian refugees. Marcus picked up their distress signal while they were traveling through the outer rim. It was coming from an old space station that was falling apart. The signal was weak and getting weaker. "We should report this to the authorities," Zarathel said. "How long would that take?" Marcus asked. "Perhaps a week for them to send a ship." Marcus was already changing course toward the station. "They don't have a week." The station was in bad shape. Its power was almost gone, and life support was failing. When Marcus docked with it, they found 50 Zelthian refugees inside. They looked like giant insects, but with intelligent eyes and gentle hands. Their leader spoke through a translation device. "Please, we have been here for 10 days. Our ship broke down. We sent distress signals, but no one came." "Why didn't the authorities help you?" Marcus asked. The Zelthian looked sad. "We are refugees from the HFY War. Our planet was destroyed. The Council says we have no legal status. We are nobody." Marcus looked around the station. The Zelthians had made it as comfortable as possible, but they were clearly dying. Not enough food, not enough power, not enough hope. "How many of you are there?" Marcus asked. 50 adults, 20 children." "My ship can take maybe 30 people," Marcus said. "It'll be crowded, but we can manage." Zarathel stared at him. "Marcus, you cannot take 70 refugees. Where would you put them? How would you feed them? And they are wanted by the Council. You would become criminals." Marcus was already calculating cargo space and life support capacity. "We'll figure it out. These people need help." "But why? You do not know them. They are not your species." "They cannot pay you." Marcus stopped what he was doing and looked at her. "Zara, when I found you in that canyon, what if I had asked those questions? What if I had said, 'She's not human, She can't pay me. She might be dangerous. Would that have been right? Zarathel felt something twist inside her chest. No, but this is different. This is 70 people. So? Still people. Over the next 6 hours, Marcus turned his cargo ship into a refugee transport. He and the Zelthians worked together to build sleeping spaces and extend life support. Zarathel helped too, though she did not understand why. The Zelthian children were the hardest part for her. They were scared and hungry, but they still played games and laughed when Marcus made funny faces. In Velkan society, children of other species were barely considered people. But these children seemed just as real as any Velkan child. "Where will you take us?" the Zelthian leader asked Marcus. "There's a colony world in the Tau system," Marcus said. "Independent. They don't ask too many questions about paperwork." "Why are you doing this?" the leader asked. "Humans are not known for helping other species." Marcus shrugged. "Maybe we should be." They made the trip in 3 days. It was crowded and uncomfortable, but nobody complained. The Zelthians shared their food with the humans. They told stories to entertain each other. They worked together to keep the ship running. When they reached Tau Colony, Marcus used his contacts to find work and homes for the refugees. He spent his own money to help them get started. He did not ask for anything in return. As they left the colony, Zarathel was very quiet. "You are thinking about something," Marcus said. "I am thinking about the council," she said. "About the way we divide species into categories, important and unimportant, worthy and unworthy. But those children, they were just children." "Yeah. On my world, we would have left them to die." "Good thing we're not on your world then." Word of their rescue spread through the underground networks that refugees used to communicate. Soon they were getting calls for help from all over the Outer Rim. A crashed ship here, a stranded colony there, always someone who needed help that no one else would give. Marcus never said no. They rescued Draxan miners trapped in a collapsed asteroid mine. They carried medicine to a plague-stricken Yithrak settlement. They evacuated a research station before its star went supernova. Each time, Zarathel asked the same question. "Why do you help those you have never met?" And Marcus always gave the same answer. "Because someone needs to." But slowly, Zarathel began to understand. She started helping with the rescues. She used her knowledge of galactic politics to find safe places for refugees. She taught Marcus how to avoid council patrol routes. One day, after they had saved a group of Thornak farmers from slavers, she realized something had changed inside her. She was no longer asking why Marcus helped people. She was asking why anyone wouldn't help people. "You know," Marcus said as they watched the farmers start new lives on a free world, "your people call humans primitive. But maybe being primitive isn't so bad. Maybe all this advanced civilization has made them forget something important." "What is that?" "That we're all in this together, all of us, every species, every world. The galaxy's big and dangerous and lonely. The only way any of us survive is by looking out for each other." Zarathel thought about her father, sitting on his golden throne, ruling through fear and power. Then she thought about Marcus, fixing broken ships and feeding hungry children, ruling nothing but making everything better. "Marcus," she said, "I think your species might be more advanced than mine." He smiled. "We're getting there." That night, as they traveled toward their next rescue mission, Zarathel made a decision. She was no longer an exiled princess. She was no longer Velkan royalty. She was something new. She was someone who helped people because someone needed to. Just like Marcus had taught her, the Velkan Empire was not pleased. Admiral Krelvox stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Iron Crown, reading reports that made his crystal face grow darker with each page. For months, stories had been spreading through the Outer Rim about a human and an exiled princess who helped refugees. These stories were causing problems. "Minor species are beginning to resist our authority," his intelligence officer reported. "They speak of the human way and the princess who chose love over power. Some of our own people are questioning traditional values." Krelvox crushed the datapad in his hand. "Where is she now?" "Last seen in the Xerion system, helping evacuate a mining colony before the planet's core collapsed. They saved 3,000 Gornaki workers." 3,000 workers who should have died for their weakness, Krelvox said, "and now they live to spread stories of human compassion. This ends now." The Emperor had given Krelvox a simple order. Bring back Zarathel for public execution and destroy the human who had corrupted her. The Admiral commanded 12 of the Empire's best ships and 5,000 soldiers. It should be easy. But Marcus Chen was proving harder to catch than expected. For 3 weeks, Krelvox chased the wandering star across the galaxy. Every time they got close, Marcus would disappear into asteroid fields or nebula clouds where the big Velkan ships could not follow. The human knew every smuggler route, every hidden base, every dangerous shortcut in space. "How does he do it?" Krelvox demanded after Marcus escaped through an unstable wormhole that should have destroyed his ship. "Human vessels are smaller and more flexible than ours," his navigator explained. "They take risks we would never take, and this one, he flies like the laws of physics are suggestions." The chase led through the Maelstrom Nebula, where electrical storms could fry ship systems. Marcus flew right through the worst of it, using the storms to hide his heat signature. 2 Velkan ships were damaged by lightning and had to turn back. It led through the graveyard of ships, an asteroid field full of old wrecks. Marcus knew every piece of floating metal, every safe passage. He flew between asteroids that were only meters apart, spaces too small for Velkan ships. The Admiral lost 3 more vessels to asteroid impacts. It led through the void between, a region of space so empty that most species avoided it. Marcus had friends even there, old hermits and crazy prospectors who helped him hide and refuel. "This human has allies everywhere," Krelvox complained to the Emperor over subspace radio. "He is one primitive creature," the Emperor replied coldly. "You command the finest fleet in the galaxy. End this." But Marcus was not alone anymore. Word had spread through refugee networks that the Velkans were hunting the human and the princess. Groups of grateful people began helping. Zelthian pilots flew escort missions. Draxan engineers gave them upgraded engines. Yithrak hackers fed them intelligence about Velkan ship movements. The final trap was set in the Chronos system, where Marcus had gone to deliver medical supplies to a plague-stricken world. Krelvox brought his entire fleet, surrounding the system so completely that not even light could escape without being detected. "Attention, human vessel," the Admiral broadcast. "You are surrounded. Surrender the exile Zarathel, and you will be allowed to live. Resist, and you will be destroyed." Marcus was docked at an ancient space station called Haven's Rest. It was thousands of years old, built by a species that was extinct before humans learned to make fire. Now it served as a neutral meeting place for traders and outcasts. "What do we do?" Zarathel asked. She could see the Velkan ships on the scanner, 12 massive warships against 1 small cargo hauler. "We don't have many options," Marcus said. He was checking his ship's systems, but they both knew the wandering star could not outrun so many ships. "I could try to create a diversion, give you time to escape in a shuttle." "No," Zarathel said firmly. "I will not run while you die for my crimes." "These aren't your crimes," Marcus said. "Helping people isn't a crime, no matter what your father says." They were interrupted by an explosion. The Velkan ships had opened fire on the station, not to destroy it, but to show they were serious. "1 hour," Krelvox's voice echoed through the station. "Surrender in 1 hour or we reduce this place to atoms." Marcus spent the next 30 minutes rigging explosives throughout the station. If they were going to die, they would take as many Velkans with them as possible. "You know," he said as he placed charges in the reactor core, "when I was a kid, I always wondered what I'd do in a situation like this. Fight or run. I guess now I know." "You choose to fight," Zarathel said, "even though you cannot win." "Sometimes fighting isn't about winning," Marcus said. "Sometimes it's about standing up for what's right. Your people rule through fear, but they're afraid of something. They're afraid of ideas, afraid that other species might realize they don't have to bow down. And you think dying here will change that?" Marcus finished setting the last charge. "Maybe. Or maybe it'll just show people that someone was willing to try. Sometimes that's enough." As the hour deadline approached, they sat together in the station's observation deck, looking out at the stars. Earth was somewhere out there, too far away to see. Marcus wondered if anyone would remember what he tried to do here. "I am sorry," Zarathel said quietly. "For what?" "For bringing this danger to you, for ruining your life." Marcus laughed. "Ruining my life? Zara, before I met you, I was just a scavenger. I fixed ships and minded my own business and never thought about anything bigger than my next paycheck. You didn't ruin my life. You showed me what life could be. Even if it ends here? Especially if it ends here. Because it means something." The Velkan ships began moving closer. In 10 minutes, they would dock and send boarding parties. Marcus had his hand on the detonator. Then Zarathel grabbed his arm. "Look," she whispered. New ships were appearing on the scanner. Not Velkan ships. Smaller vessels, mismatched and cobbled together. Zelthian fighters, Draxan mining ships, Yithrak raiders, even a few vessels Zarathel didn't recognize. Marcus opened a communication channel. "Attention unidentified ships, this is a combat zone. You should leave immediately." A familiar voice answered. It was the Zelthian leader they had rescued weeks ago. "Marcus, friend, we cannot leave. You saved our children. Now we save yours." More voices joined in. The Draxan miners, the Yithrak plague survivors, the Gornaki workers, the Thornak farmers, dozens of groups that Marcus and Zarathel had helped over the months. "You helped us when no one else would," one of them said. "Now we help you." Admiral Krelvox found himself facing not just one small human ship, but a fleet of angry refugees. They had no military training, no advanced weapons, no chance against his warships, but they came anyway. "This is Admiral Krelvox of the Velkan Empire," he broadcast. "Disperse immediately, or be destroyed." "This is Captain Thexera of the Free Coalition," the Zelthian leader replied. "We do not recognize your authority here. Release our friends, or face the consequences." Krelvox stared at his scanner. The refugee fleet was pathetic compared to his forces, but there were so many of them, and they were broadcasting on all frequencies, telling the galaxy what was happening here. "Sir," his communications officer said nervously, "we're receiving messages from across the galaxy. Other species are watching this confrontation. Some are questioning our actions." The Admiral realized he had a problem. He could destroy the refugee fleet easily, but doing so would make them martyrs. The story would spread to every world, every species, the mighty Velkan Empire, slaughtering civilians who only wanted to protect their friends. "Sir, what are your orders?" his weapons officer asked. Krelvox looked at the tactical display, at Marcus's small ship, surrounded by friends who had come to die with him, at Zarathel, who had chosen love over power, at the refugee fleet, ready to fight a battle they could not win. For the first time in his life, the Admiral began to understand what humans called courage. The galaxy was watching. News of the standoff at Haven's Rest spread across every communication network. On 1,000 worlds, people gathered around screens to see what would happen when the mighty Velkan Empire met a small group of refugees who refused to abandon their friends. Admiral Krelvox felt the weight of those watching eyes. Every decision he made now would echo across the stars for generations. "Admiral," his communications officer said, "we're receiving a priority message from the homeworld. The Emperor demands an immediate report." Krelvox ignored him. He was studying the refugee fleet that surrounded Haven's Rest. 50 ships, maybe 60. They had no unified command, no battle formation, no advanced weapons. Some were cargo haulers, some were mining ships, a few were barely spaceworthy. But they were here. They had come across the galaxy to stand between his guns and the human who had shown them kindness. "Sir, the Emperor is waiting," the officer pressed. "Tell the Emperor I am evaluating the tactical situation," Krelvox said. On Haven's Rest, Marcus was having the strangest conversation of his life. Leaders of a dozen species were talking to him over the communication system, all at the same time. "We brought weapons," announced Captain Thexra of the Zelthians. "Not many, but enough to hurt them." "Our ships are equipped with mining charges," added Chief Engineer Bracton of the Draxans. "Very explosive." "We have hacking equipment," said the Yithrak representative. "We can disrupt their systems." "This is crazy," Marcus said. "These are Velkan warships. They'll destroy all of you." "Probably," Thexra agreed cheerfully. "But you taught us something important, Marcus friend. Sometimes doing the right thing matters more than winning." Zarathel listened to this with growing amazement. These were the species her people called inferior, workers and refugees and outcasts. But they spoke with more courage and honor than she had ever heard in the golden halls of the Velkan Empire. "There has to be another way," she said suddenly. She activated the main communication system, broadcasting on all frequencies. "This is Princess Zarathel of the Velkan Empire, Admiral Krelvox. I know you can hear me," a new voice answered. Cold, familiar, terrible. "Hello, daughter." Emperor Veltar himself had joined the communication link. The entire galaxy heard his voice. "Father," Zarathel said, "you want me to return and face execution for my crimes. I am willing to do this, but only if you promise to let these people go, all of them." "No," Marcus said immediately. "Zara, we're not trading your life for ours." "You do not have a choice, human," the Emperor said. "My daughter will return and pay for her betrayal. You will also return to face judgment for corrupting a member of the royal family. And if I refuse?" The Emperor's laugh was like breaking glass. "Then every ship in that pathetic fleet dies. Every world that sent them burns. Every species that dared to challenge Velkan authority learns what happens to those who forget their place." Silence fell across the communication networks. The galaxy held its breath. Then Marcus spoke. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice calm and clear, "you're making a mistake. You dare lecture me, primitive?" "I'm trying to help you," Marcus said. "You see a bunch of refugees with old ships and think they're weak, but you're wrong about what makes someone strong." He stood up in the observation deck, looking out at the Velkan fleet. These people didn't come here because they thought they could win. They came because it was right. They came because someone showed them that the galaxy doesn't have to be ruled by fear. The Emperor's voice grew dangerous. "They came because they are fools." "No," said a new voice. It was Admiral Krelvox, speaking on an open channel. "They came because they have something we have lost." The Emperor was shocked. "Admiral, you will hold your tongue." But Krelvox continued speaking. "I have served the Empire for 50 years. I have conquered worlds, destroyed enemies, enforced our will across the galaxy. But I have never seen anything like this. These people are willing to die for each other. Not for power, not for territory, not for resources, for each other. They are weak, the Emperor snapped. Are they? Krelvox asked. Then why am I afraid of them? The Admiral's words spread across the galaxy like wildfire. A Velkan officer admitting fear of refugees and outcasts, admitting that there was something powerful in their unity. Admiral Krelvox, the Emperor's voice was deadly quiet. You are relieved of command. Captain Morthek, destroy that fleet immediately. But Captain Morthek did not respond. Neither did any of the other ship commanders. In the silence, another voice spoke up. It was Commander Yelani, one of Krelvox's junior officers. Sir, the crew, they're asking questions. About what we're doing here. About whether this is honorable. Honorable? The Emperor raged. I am your Emperor. My word is law. Yes, Your Majesty, Yelani said carefully. But law should serve honor, not replace it. Marcus listened to this exchange with growing hope. Something was happening in the Velkan fleet. The seeds of doubt that Zarathel had planted months ago were finally growing. Admiral, he said, addressing Krelvox directly, you don't have to do this. There's another way. What way? Krelvox asked. The way forward, Marcus said. Your empire is old and powerful, but it's also afraid. Afraid of change, afraid of new ideas, afraid that other species might be just as valuable as you are. But they are valuable. All of them. The galaxy is big enough for everyone to have a place. Zarathel stepped forward. Father, I have traveled with this human for months. I have seen what he and his people can do. They build instead of destroy. They lift people up instead of pushing them down. They make everything around them better. They are nothing, the Emperor said, but his voice was weaker now. They saved my life when you left me to die, Zarathel said. They showed me that strength comes from helping others, not ruling them. And now look around you. Look at what they have built. The refugee fleet was growing larger. New ships were arriving every hour as word spread across the galaxy. Not all of them were refugees now. Some were Velkan ships, their crews declaring for the Free Coalition. Some were ships from other council species, their captains tired of endless cycles of dominance and submission. This is revolution, the Emperor said. No, Marcus replied. This is evolution. The galaxy is changing, Your Majesty. It's growing up. The question is whether your empire grows with it or gets left behind. For a long moment, no one spoke. The entire galaxy waited. Finally, Admiral Krelvox made his decision. All Velkan ships, stand down, he ordered. Lower shields. Power down weapons. Admiral! Several voices protested. That's an order, Krelvox said firmly. We are not here to slaughter civilians. We are here to learn something new. The Emperor's channel went silent, but other voices filled the gap. Velkan officers talking to their crews, refugee leaders coordinating with former enemies, species that had never spoken to each other before making contact. 3 hours later, representatives from 40 species met aboard Haven's Rest. The station's old conference room had not been used in decades, but they cleaned it up and made it work. Humans, Velkans, Zelthians, Draxans, Yithraks, and dozens of others sat around a table and talked. They talked about trade agreements that helped everyone instead of exploiting the weak. They talked about mutual defense pacts that protected small worlds from pirates and slavers. They talked about sharing technology and knowledge instead of hoarding it. They talked about building something new. What will we call ourselves? Asked Captain Thexra. Marcus looked around the room at all the different faces, all the different species who had chosen to work together instead of fight each other. How about the Free Coalition? He suggested. Free to help each other, free to grow, free to be something better than we were before. 6 months later, Marcus and Zarathel stood on the bridge of their new ship, the Bridge Builder. It was bigger than the Wandering Star, with space for diplomatic meetings and refugee transport. The ship was a gift from the Coalition, but Marcus had insisted on keeping the same mission: go where help was needed. Distress call, Zarathel reported from the sensor station. Cargo ship stranded in the Vega system. Engine failure, 23 crew members. Marcus smiled and set course for Vega. Here we go again. Marcus, Zarathel said, as they jumped to hyperspace. Do you think it will last? This coalition we built? Marcus thought about it. Maybe, maybe not. But that's not really the point, is it? What is the point? The point is that we tried. The point is that for once, maybe just once, the galaxy chose cooperation over conquest, love over fear, hope over hate. He looked out at the stars rushing past. Even if it only lasts a little while, it proves something important. What does it prove? That it's possible. And once people know something is possible, they never really forget it. Behind them, the Free Coalition continued to grow. Not through conquest or domination, but through the simple human idea that everyone deserved a chance to be something better than they were. The galaxy was learning to be human, and that made all the difference.